In a moment, in the wink of an eye, in a moment, as the world passes by, you can see a smile as it breaks, and the magic that it makes. In a moment, just a casual glance changes slowly to the maddest romance, a new life, a new attitude, in a moment's interlude.
Wise Guys Cooking is brought to you by Everson Spice. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Frankie.
Start spreading the news. I believe in today. I want to be a part of it. New York, these vagabonds, they are longing to stray and get right to the heart of it. New York, I want to wake up in a city that never sleeps, to find I'm king of the hill, top of the these little towns, they are melting away. I'm gonna make a brand new start of it in old New York, and if I can't make it there, I'm gonna make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New.
Well, welcome back, folks, and we have a special treat for you tonight. Let's have a warm Wise Guys welcome for the president of the Chicago Funeral Parlors Association, Mr. Franklin C. Stiff. Nice to have you here tonight, Franklin. I heard you come from a long line of Stiffs.
Well, yes.
Okay.
Actually, I do, but before we get into that, I would like to just tell you how happy and delighted I am to be on your wonderful show with you wonderful people, because I have been a fan of yours for a long, long time, watched your career blossom, as it were. It's really been something wonderful to see.
Oh, you're the one.
Yes, but I'm not the only one. My wife, Stella.
Your wife's name is Stella Stiff?
Yes. Well, blame her parents for that. Can't blame me. I had nothing to do with that. But she just absolutely loves you to death.
To death.
Did I say death?
A little play on words.
Sorry, it's a little joke, I guess. But no, actually, I do come from a long, proud line of Stiffs. My great ancestors learned their trade from the ancient Egyptian mummy wrappers. It was back, 500 BC, when the ancient Egyptians experimented with mixing clay and dirt as sort of a stiffening agent, so to speak, as it were. And then they converted it into what you Italians today refer to as cement. And as you know, Frank, Italians in Chicago are quite familiar with cement. It has a wide variety of uses.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Another thing very interesting is, I guess it was in the 1920s when the Italians first started working with cement. It was a shoemaker from the South Side, Vinny the Shoemaker, Pincher Tushy, who actually invented, stay with me,
I'm with you.
invented the form-fitting cement shoes used by many people to swim in the Chicago River. Well, it didn't take very long before it became and created quite a splash with certain Italian families.
Wow. Well, that's an amazing story. But why don't you tell us what the C in Franklin C. Stiff stands for?
Well, that would be Franklin Cadaver
Cadaver.
Stiff.
Okay, folks. Well, listen, we'll be right back after this short message. Stick around.
I gotta get my luggage packed. I'm leaving.
Hi, I'm Uncle Frank. After my stint at the Go-Go, I had to do something. I had 2 children, and going to Schwab's drugstore wanting to be discovered is not going to happen. And I had a friend of mine who had a ladies' clothing store, and he did so well. And I was always a clothes horse when I was a kid. I had a part-time job selling newspapers. I would just take the money and go for clothes, you know. So I don't know. I didn't have any training or anything. So I told my friend Alan. I said, you know, I'm going to open up a store. And he laughed at me. He says, "Are you kidding? No way. This business is not for you." I says, "Well, I'm going to do something different." So I had $1,200. That's all I had. And Alan, I said, "What am I going to do, Alan, to do something different?" I said, "We ought to go to Europe. We ought to go to Paris." And Alan and I went to Paris. Alan and his mother, they had Ruth Lewis, a clothing store on La Cienega Boulevard, for years and years. And his uncle was the biggest button manufacturer in New York. So we went to Paris, and it was amazing. I mean, you'd go to a drugstore, and the sales girls had dresses on. They're dressed. I mean, it was just amazing. And the clothing was fabulous. When I started, that was 1968. I couldn't get anything here. I'd go to New York, and there was nothing. There was like couture dresses, Mr. Moore, Junior Sophisticates, and all that, but nothing interesting. So when we went to Paris, and I found all these wonderful people were making sweaters and shirts. I mean, it was fabulous. And I started to bring them in, and all of a sudden, I'm hot because I used to do a lot of television, wardrobe for television. And on Mondays, that's what the girls who the wardrobe girls would come with their scripts, knowing what they need, whether it's for the principals or the secretaries or whatever. So, and my things were so different that I got to be really, really. It was Uncle Frank. And my store was called Mr. Frank. I was in West Hollywood for almost 30 years. But anyway, it was great.
Coming to Sicily, we have you covered. Top 10 places to visit on the west coast of Sicily.
Let me tell you something. The other 90 places are just as good, but we had to pick 10, Esther.
It was a tough job, but someone had to do it.
That's for sure.
In this video, we have 10 areas to visit when coming to the west coast of Sicily, so landing in Palermo. This was a super tough list to put together because Sicily is an endless treasure trove. In no particular order, and very briefly why, here are our top picks. And make sure you stay tuned until the end because we have some travel tips for you. Palermo, the capital of Sicily with a lasagna of influences from the Phoenicians, Romans, Arabs, Normans, Spanish, just to name a few. The street markets are a must visit and street foods are a must sample.
La frittura de pesce. Buono. There you go. It's Keston's over here. And there's the spleen. There's the spleen. Spleen sandwich. Big Palermo food. Look at that. Typical street food. Tre carne
e uno spinaci.
Cappella Palentina will dazzle you. You can easily do part of Palermo on foot. A short ride away is Monreale, with a breathtaking Duomo, a monastery, and a beautiful view of the valley. Cefalù is one of our personal favorites in Sicily. The quaint seaside village has many attractions in a small radius, including the cathedral, the molu, the beach, and the old wash house, just to name a few.
I love these signs. Città di Cefalù. This is beautiful.
Olive, capperi, pomodorino e prezzemolo.
Now let's talk about Greek Sicily and the ruins scattered around the island. One of the best preserved is the Doric Temple in Segesta. Then take a 5-minute bus ride to the amphitheater. Seliunite and Agrigento both have an impressive collection of Greek and Roman ruins. In our opinion, you can pick one or do both, a true testament to the ancient Greek presence and investment in Sicily. By the way, Agrigento you could visit if you are staying either on the west or east coast. Castellammare del Golfo, another one of our favorites on the west coast in the province of Trapani. There are plenty of shops and restaurants in the downtown, and the castle is quite remarkable.
They don't have the little potatoes in there. I don't like the potatoes. And look at my coatsy.
Coastal look very impressive tonight. Now we're going to have some very nicely done calamari.
Head further south and there's the city of Trapani, packed with historical buildings, churches, and a fish market.
Giorno. Questa è orata.
But then again, going to the market is a must-do experience in all of Sicily. Erice is a hilltop medieval town. You could either drive up the windy roads or take the cable car. It has breathtaking views and cobblestone streets that make you feel like you're in ancient times. Among the Madonia mountain range, there are several little non-touristy villages very worth visiting, including Castelbuono and Polizzi Generosa. Also, you could visit the two Petralias, Soprana and Sottana. Okay, see, that was more than 10, but we couldn't help it. While visiting these towns, make sure you add an experience, like visiting a vineyard.
There's the Palmento. That's where they stomped on the grapes since the Greek times here in Sicily.
A sheep farm for ricotta tasting.
Fresh ricotta making. Giusto? Questa è la ricotta.
That's good.
E poi questa. E poi questa.
Questo è caprino. Caprino.
Caprino.
Primo sale.
Primo sale, fresca. Olive.
Mozzarella.
Sì. Focaccia.
E questo è un primizio.
Cooking demo, visiting markets, or even a boat ride.
If you find Corleone, you could take a beautiful ride from Palermo to Corleone. I just love that. That drive is about
The drive is
hour
beautiful.
or so, hour and a half. It's just a great drive.
I am already looking forward to starting what to see on the East Coast. I have some ideas. Do you have any favorites? Write them in the comment. Let me know what you think should be on our list of 10 places must visit on the East Coast.
And not Duluth, Minnesota either, please, okay? We're talking about Sicilian places.
All right, let's do some tips. Now, I gave you my top tip, and that is have an experience. So add like a vineyard, like a cooking demo or so forth. My other tip, let's say you are planning to come to Sicily and you're just starting out. The first thing you should do is find a ticket. Find a time that you will be arriving. The second thing you should do is find a place and then start mapping out the little places that you will visit.
Listen, I'm much more fundamental on my tips when I give out people. The first thing you ought to do is have a carry-on with 2 days worth of clothes in it. Change of clothes complete. Why am I saying that? Because last year, Catania Airport, where you're going to land, was the third busiest airport in all of Italy. Between 6 and 7 or 8 million people landed there. They were very good. The problem is the transfers from Milano or Rome or wherever it is you're coming from loses luggage, especially in the high tourist season.
Okay, now let me tell you that of the dozens of groups and people that we had in 2022, I would say about a third had their luggage lost or delayed or something like that. So great advice. All right, here's my second advice, and that is to learn your metrics, because here they do things completely different. Here we have Celsius instead of Fahrenheit. We have liters, we have kilometers. So 5 kilometers is 3.1 miles. 10 kilometers is 6.2. Here they weigh the food. So a kilo is 2.2 pounds. So a little bit of familiarity with those kinds of metrics would be very helpful.
Again, I'm going to be a little bit more fundamental than Esther is going to be on my tips when you're coming to Italy, especially for Italy or Sicily for the first time. And my biggest advice is to physically photocopy your passport and your credit cards, along with physically writing out the customer service numbers on them just in case. Now, lots of people take pictures on their cell phone of their passport, which is okay. But what happens if you lose your cell phone? So you want to have physically a piece of paper, not in the same bag as, you know,
As your
put
carry-on.
it in a different place.
All right, here's another tip. Yes, a lot of places take credit cards, but bring cash. Cash is king. I say bring about 500 euros of cash. Believe it or not, in some of these small towns, the ATM machines run out of cash. It has happened to me.
On the weekends especially on Mondays when everybody, I mean, if you have 8 million people coming into Catania, the ATM machines by Sunday are low on cash, and by Monday they'll put a limit on you of 275 euros. So if you wanted 500 or 1,000 euro, you're not going to get it. So bring some, and also, you know what you ought to have? You can buy them at Walmart or places like that. One of those secure things that you can put your money in underneath a turtleneck, which, by the way, is a great thing to wear on the plane.
All right, my next tip, and I tell all my clients when I do consults with them, is make sure that if you have prescription medication, you have at least a month full dose of your prescription medication. Maybe you're staying here only a week or 2 weeks, but make sure your prescription is filled. I usually suggest that people, when they come here, especially the first time, not to drive, to get a driver so you can enjoy the scenery, and it really gets a little bit stressful sometimes. So that's my advice on that. But if you are going to drive, make sure you get your international driver's license. You can get that at AAA.
You have to have the international driver's license, or else they're not going to, if you come to Sicily and you don't have one, chances are the big places are not going to rent a car to you. Get that international driver's, and it's not a license, it's a permit, okay? It's a permit to drive in the EU.
Now I have a little bit of
Oh, wait a minute,
fun.
one more thing about the car, okay?
Yeah.
Make sure you photograph the car or videotape it all the way around, so you're not going to get a bill for damages 6 months later. All right, so I always do that. Photograph the car all the way around.
Okay, my next advice, how is the saying go? When in Rome, do as the Romans do. When in Sicily, do as the Sicilians do. Things, you know, a little bit different, especially from mainland and maybe other European countries. Don't expect to have butter at the table. It's going to be olive oil. Be adventurous. Try some new foods. There's foods here that maybe you won't find in the mainland, or you may not find in the United States. Take a bite. Just try new things. Get out there, have fun, and have an adventure.
When a person comes to Sicily for the first time, I always say, learn about the places, especially the historical sites where you're going. I mean, or else you got to just see a bunch of rubble that's 2,500 years old or 2,000 years old. You're not going to know any of the history behind it. And that goes to the same for this beautiful duomos or cathedrals that are in every town. Learn about where you're going. Your experience will be far more enriched.
And you know how they can get all that information before you come here to Sicily? Watch some of our videos, especially under the Explore Sicily playlist. We have dozens of videos, including historical things, including where to go, what to see, what to eat, and to give you a little bit of a context. When people come here, you know, you don't need a guide every single day that you're here in Sicily, but it is useful in some of the historic places, so I suggest get a local.
Hey Frank, it's Tony Pomponio. Hey listen, I'm heading over to Enzo's. I talked to Chef Vito today, and he told me come on down. He's got some great food, and they got a bocce court, and you know what? I think we're gonna have a good time if you get over here.
Hey, Tony!
What the heck? How'd you get here so fast?
You said it! Food, bocce, all of it. That's all. I don't need to waste any time about that. So let's go in and have some good food.
Well, let's get this party started. All right! Good to see you.
You know, this is going to be good today, I'll tell you what. This Chef Vito, man, he's killing.
Well, I'm going to tell you, when I was sitting here...
Enzo's label? Oh, look at that. Enzo's. I like it. Have a sip.
Salud. What'd I tell you? That's the reason why I called you. Oh, plus you're the only phone number I have on my phone anyway, so
that's right.
I thought I'd give you a call. 101. Vuol dire one more year.
That's right.
Okay, how about a couple more years?
Fettuccine mare. So olive oil. Obviously we're Italian, so we use a lot of garlic. Get that saute up in the pan. Hey, you know what? We're real Italian here. Let's put a little bit more olive oil. And what I do, I salt and pepper, the garlic, okay? Add a little parsley to it inside so it crackles and gives the oil some flavor. And your clams, your scallops, your shrimp at the beginning. So we already seasoned the oil, so we don't really have to do that much seasoning on the fish. Calamari. Of course, you have to have the seasoning a little bit drunk. With a little bit of white wine. We're going to put a little bit of fish stock. And then, of course, we're going to put some homemade from Mama Gemma, some marinara in the dish. Then we add a little bit more parsley. Top it off. This is the hard part, waiting and waiting. We're still waiting. Hey, we did it. They're all open. Got some fettuccine in the water. And we made house-made pasta made at Enzo's in-house. Ma che bello, la pasta con pesce! Ma bellissimo! Here we go, guys. Fettuccini di mare from Enzo's.
In a moment, in the wink of an eye, in a moment, as the world passes by, you can see a smile as it breaks, and the magic that it makes. In a moment, just a casual glance changes slowly to the maddest romance, a new life, a new attitude, in a moment's interlude. In a matter of no time at all, you can win with your back to the wall. With a car to the river, your aces. Oh,